Hi everyone, my name is Georgie Cavanagh and today we'll be chatting all things organic media reach and the power and what does organic media reach mean. Super excited to be here today to talk about this. It really is such a passion of mine, and I'll explain my whole background once we start, but I just might wait another minute or two and let a few more other people join. I know there's quite a few people tuning in for this one, so pretty pumped about that. Hope everyone's got their morning coffee. Rule to being in PR or media outreach: coffee. Coffee will get you through it all. Just wait another minute and then I'll kick off. Just before, while I've all got you as well, just remember at any time there is a chat function. We will do questions at the end. So maybe if you do have any questions, just write them down in your phone or next to you if you're taking notes, and I will answer them all at the end. Don't worry, we've got time for that at the end. But hopefully I answer everything through my presentation. Yeah, we'll see how we go anyway. All right, I might kickstart things now. So I'm just going to share my screen. All right. As I mentioned before, we're all here for Organic Media Reach, and my name is Georgie Cavanagh. So what's going to be covered today? I just did a quick snapshot. Basically, it will be PR 101, tips and tricks, examples, and what's next. A little bit about me. For those of you, if any of you joined last week, I talked about influencer marketing. My background does fall between PR and marketing, specializing in publicity, but also the influencer space. And I'll take you through that a bit later. But last week it was all around influencer marketing and the power of influencers. Today it really is about traditional media and organic reach and what that means. I'll take you through the PR background a little bit later, but I was a journalist at News Corp for the Escape supplement. So for those of you that read the Sunday papers, I hope you all do, there's a section there called Escape, which is the travel section. And a number of years ago, I pitched my own travel column to the editor at the time, and that was all around my travel adventures with my best friend Jess, who continues to be my best friend today. We had our own column called The Adventures of Georgie and Jess, where we traveled the globe for a year. Sounds crazy now, but I guess we were the original travel influencer. This is back a few years ago, and if there was social media like it is now then, I think we then would have continued on exploring this, because we did really get a lot of engagement. And it was nice. Rather than doing PR for clients, I could see just how important PR was when we were doing it for ourselves. And we almost did become a brand within itself. In the end, we were getting advertisers wanting to be on our page. We were receiving double-page spreads in the newspaper every Sunday about our travel adventures, which was pretty exciting. When we did return, we did have Channel 10 approach us wanting to do a getaway style show, which is on Channel 9, obviously, but for the younger market. This didn't eventuate just because life happens when you get back, but it still was very exciting to get asked. After that, and continued in PR, I then was the first employee at a tech startup called Tribe, which if you look in the photo to the left, at the bottom, you can see Jules Lund, who actually, in fact, was on Getaway for 15 years. So it's funny how everything does come full circle. He always was quite a mentor to me, and then I ended up working for him, and I still am involved, just not at a day-to-day level. And now to what I'm doing now, I have my own brand called Carlotta G, which is a French linen bedding brand. So it's exciting. That's why I can talk about my experience within PR or organic reach from all different levels. So whether that is pitching on behalf of another brand, or being a journalist, or then now having my own brand and seeing just the advantages and just what a huge impact PR does have for a brand. So PR, I studied PR at university, PR and communications, but with this field, it really is something that, don't worry if you haven't been to university and studied it. I really believe that, yes, you do learn a lot of the strong foundations of PR and the writing skills. However, this industry is something that really comes down to relationships and also learning on the job. So don't worry, even if you haven't been in it before and you do want to learn, or you are now given that responsibility with your own brand or within a company, don't fear. Also, work experience. It doesn't matter what age you are, even if you are looking to get into PR. This is how I really started in the industry, and I started at a small firm, which was where I really realized you either sink or swim. And so when I was there, I remember one of the first campaigns I worked on was the Miss Universe pageant. Yes, crazy. When Donald Trump had the rights, we were given the responsibility to expand this within Australia. It really wasn't mainstream. Nowadays, if someone does win the Miss Universe Australia, they pretty much are guaranteed a Channel 7 media contract, and everyone wants to interview them and know their story. But when we were given this responsibility and I was pitching in the winner, no one wanted to talk, or no one knew what Miss Universe was. So it's great to see that now it's gone on. I then have worked at different agencies. So like I said, I started out at a small PR firm, and that's great because you can sink or swim. Then moved to a larger PR firm, which was owned by a multinational, which means that we kept getting then bought out. So that PR agency was then bought out by a larger media agency, by a UK media buying firm, and so on. And so that was pretty exciting to be involved in a business like that. And more recently, I've just worked at Tinkerbell, which, again, the reason why I'm telling you this is because it's just to show that I've had the different experience within different agencies of all different types. And Tinkerbell is a creative agency. So there was media buying, PR, advertising, and this is where it was really interesting to see how all the marketing channels came together under the one roof. So yes, PR is important, as I know, but when you can involve that with the whole marketing mix, that's when it really shines. So just remember that if you are, involved with other people, really try to bring everyone together and show how PR fits in the broader range. Just to give you a quick background on Tribe, because I think it is important as well, because it does still fit into the organic reach given socials. It's You know, sometimes if you are working with influencers, it's not paid. Yes, sometimes they are now, but you can still work with influencers that are not paid. So this is a good understanding as well to know of organic reach. So Tribe is a fast, effective content at speed. It's really an extension of your marketing arm. Essentially, instead of having 50 coffees with different influencers talking about content, you can then place up a campaign on your desktop, and overnight you'll have all these influencers celebrating your brand, which you can then promote on your own socials. So it's just a bit of, you know, you can look further into Tribe at another time or ask me questions, but it just shows that PR is not just about earned or traditional media. It really does now delve into the social media world as well. Just to also run you through, so Carlotta NG, it started out as a side hustle. So I was working, as I said, in full-time in PR and marketing. And we were then doing the different markets on the weekends and working, you know, before work and after work. I run this with my business partner, Carlotta. So again, it really started as a side hustle, but I just wanted to show you this because PR has been such an influential part of our business that I don't think we would have a business without PR. So just remember that. Right from the start, I took the journalists that I'd been talking to about different brands that, you know, that we were doing their PR. I also, you know, because I was friends with these journalists, which is a really important part of PR, I took the journalists along for the journey. So the whole time, even now, they've kind of known where I've come from and really been part of Carlotta and G. And so they've really wanted to help us go forward. Often in PR, the journey is almost more important than the destination. So just remember that as well. All the behind the scenes, anything authentic is really going to resonate and be, you know, even just more powerful than a finished, polished media release. People like to see the background. Like I said, launching with PR was a very cost-effective way to create a groundswell effect. And it has helped increase, you know, our reach and new followers and increased sales, no doubt. So I resigned just before COVID hit, so at the start of last year. And it just goes to show that, again, with PR or earned media, it comes down to timing. And we were not fortunate, I suppose fortunate, but we were one of those first businesses that the media really grabbed hold of our story and talked about it as a success story during COVID. Being an organic, being a e-commerce business, we really did see the effects. And with everyone at home and being in homewares, our business really grew a lot. So we did have Sunrise. So Channel 7 Sunrise contacted us and they filmed our story. I can just show you a bit if you want. It was just, it was pretty exciting, but it just shows the power of PR. If this works. Technology, you've got to love it.
She has dedicated herself to helping and empowering people with disabilities in her community. We'd like to congratulate you on becoming a part of the Panadol Care Collective. Panadol, caring for Australians for over 60 years.
Now, the struggle is very real for businesses across Australia as coronavirus cripples operations.
But some have been turning tough times into opportunities. Sunrise consumer correspondent Sean White has more. Sean, hi.
Yeah, it's tricky. Morning, guys. Look, the fact is it's no longer business as usual, but there are companies that have adapted to take on one of the biggest challenges the world has ever faced. From companies pivoting to pop-up desks.
They're gifted.
The besties.
And that's great for us. We're guiding people through the process.
Well, shifting to Sydney, besties Georgie and Carlotta took a huge risk and left their full-time jobs to start a French linen company.
So we decided to really take that leap of faith, and if it was going to succeed and continue to grow, we needed to go full-time. And so we did, and this was just before COVID hit.
But they have persevered with their business, Carlotta and G, even managing to get celebrity A-listers like Matt Damon to buy their sheets. Managing lockdown has been interesting, but not impossible.
I guess through the use of technology, we always knew that it was important, but now more than ever, we can connect with our customers in a different level. So we're having one-on-one consultations where we can feel like we're in the room with the customer.
Standing on the deck of
Over in WA,
Sorry, guys. All right. Like I said, this was just before COVID hit, and so being on Sunrise really increased our business. Now that story is, I suppose, old news, so that's why timing is so important as well. Some other experiences just to show again how important PR is. We, like just on Friday, we were in the Australian Financial Review. Again, having a little story and creating that story behind a brand is important. We did actually have Matt Damon, the actor, was one of our first customers, so which was pretty exciting, and the media have used that hook and continued to use that hook like they did in the Australian Financial Review. Our business grew a lot last year, and so they also use data. Data is a really good, important piece for journalists as well, so do remember that. Also, it just shows the importance of earned media. So with Carlotta and G, we do what's called C&G Explores, where we stay at interesting and unique locations and showcase our linen. As well as promoting on our own social media, we then also make sure, again, we bring in the earned traditional media. So we speak to different outlets, such as Country Style, where they featured our new tableware and we did a shoot, as well as promoting it on our own website as well. But it just brings that extra next level when a magazine is willing to cover it as well. So PR doesn't always lead to sales. It's really important that I suppose you remember that it's not the same as advertising. Rather, think of it more as positioning your brand as a leader, or make it often seem bigger than it is. So again, we were a really small brand. We still are, but we're getting big media or earned media exposure, such as in the Daily Mail, which just shows the power that even if you are small, if you do have a good story and the media do take a hold, then get ready. But of course, it can also drive sales, and this Daily Mail piece definitely did help us increase our sales. It also really increased our social media following. So do remember that there's two aspects, obviously sales, but also increasing your social footprint, which is very important. Some different examples as well when you're talking about PR. So just to know all the differences. So there's collaborations, which is a really good way of getting PR. So again, with the C&G Explores, we did shoot at different locations. One of these is the Little Black Shack, which if you haven't seen it, just look at their socials. They do a great job. We were able to then speak to Mind Food, which is a great online site, and they covered this shoot, which was really great way. So rather than just talking about us to journalists, we were able to bring in, something like Little Black Shack, which they were really excited about. Also profiles. So profiles are a great form of PR. So, often when you're looking through magazines, have a look. There's lots of different sections that you wouldn't realize that are actually PR or related. but profiles are another great way to get your brand out there. Also, giving the heads up about celebrities. If it is your brand and you have had celebrities use your product, you can give the heads up to the media, but just be really careful about how you use this as well. Like I said, news interest stories, so such as businesses at the start of COVID, like with Sunrise. This was very much a news hook. So sometimes there's lifestyle stories, then there's news hooks. So if you're watching the 6 p.m. news now, have a look and just see what stories are mentioned, because often a lot of them are PR driven, but it will come down to if you've got data or if it's newsworthy for that day. There's also product placement. So, we work with a lot of the different magazines where, myself or Carlotta's not mentioned. It is purely just the product. And maybe with our website mentioned, maybe it's in a fashion spread, maybe it's in a home spread where they use our linen on the bed. Maybe they only use our images, so not using our product. That's why it's really important to have all your own assets ready to go. And also another way is being an expert within the field. So these journalists are experts, but they can't be in charge of every industry. So they really lean to you as the expert in your field. So if you can offer them commentary, and they really trust you, then they're going to use that and quote you in their media articles, which is pretty powerful. So what is organic media? Often known as PR, publicity, or earned media. Put simply, it is storytelling. And just remember that it is storytelling, or free advertising, or word of mouth. All of these, I really do believe, sum up organic media. So organic media. So it's the professional maintenance of a favourable public image by a company or other organisation or a famous person. It's a state of a relationship between a company or other organisations or a famous person who's in the public. So public relations is about sending the right messages to the right place and the right people, creating a stronger brand representation. And I really think this one sums it up really well. Like I've often said before, it is all about timing, and it's about who you're speaking to. You can also see PR as a way of earning and not interrupting people's attention. So like I'll say that again, it's PR is a way of earning and not interrupting people's attention. So people really lean in to PR if it is what they want to know about. A savvy communicator knows how to create compelling stories. And with that, they will gain publicity for free from trusted, unpaid or earned channels. A couple of other examples of PR campaigns just to run you through this. So the one on the left is one I worked on at an agency. Again, this was an advertising campaign. So we looked after Vegemite. We came up with, or the advertising team came up with a really creative ad which ran in national newspapers. And it was all around the time of the Ashes. So where they put something to Marmite, which is one of their competitors, and it was really tongue-in-cheek, and it created a lot of traction. From this, we then sent that ad to all different media outlets, so to the Project or to the newspapers or to online, who really just thought it was such a quirky, compelling story, and also it was timely because the Ashes were on. Then Marmite responded. So again, it just kept adding to that PR and storytelling. Then we responded again. And all this time, the media kept following because it was just so interesting. Another example of PR or earned media. So Jessica Alba, who's an actress, where I looked after the PR for a day spa in Victoria, a really small day spa. So that's where PR, it doesn't need huge budgets. We knew that she was in town. We emailed her manager And again, it's simple things, but it's just being at the right time and the right place, getting your message to who was, her manager. We offered complimentary day at our day spa. Of course, she could have gone anywhere and anyone would have welcomed her, but I guess it comes down to right timing. So we actually flew her in a helicopter because the day spa was out of town a little bit, and she came along with her manager and her bodyguard and everyone and had a great day there. We were able to get some PR off the back of that. So that was pretty exciting. Also, the other example just shows that it doesn't always need to be a large, big scale idea. We looked after NRMA, which is the insurance company, and during this time, they were supporting the koalas who were losing a lot of their homes by the trees getting cut out. So we made Arlo a celebrity. So he was one of the koalas that featured in the commercial. And so rather than pitching to the media about Arlo, we said, let's take Arlo on a road trip to different media houses. And what this means is we literally had Arlo, the koala, and had a car, and I emailed all the different newsrooms, so at Channel 7 News or at the Daily Telegraph or Mamma Mia, and instead of thinking, oh, you must write a story about it, we just took Arlo in there to meet everyone and see what would happen. And this created such a big buzz that, of course, once meeting Arlo, everyone wanted to cover the story. So much so that we ended up getting the front page of the Daily Telegraph newspaper. It says, meet Australia's richest koala. So just remember that sometimes, and when I rang the photo editor to say thank you so much, she said, Georgie, sometimes you just need a simple idea, and it comes down again to timing. They wanted, something bright and happy for people when they opened up the newspaper. And this was just the perfect idea. So not saying this is going to happen every time and don't expect front cover, but it was pretty amazing. Different types of organic mediums. So with the organic media has changed so much now with the different landscapes. Obviously the media landscape has diminished. So there's now other ways, there's now other ways to create your voice, and different avenues have come about through social media. So just remember that too. But obviously some of the traditional ways are, TV, radio, print, and online. What makes a good PR practitioner? So like I've said, it must be storytelling, a lover of the story. You must be organized, a people person, nimble, and can move fast, because the PR world, it is fast. You must be okay with doing lots of things at once and juggling, can understand a story rather than what makes a good advertisement, timely and gets back to people. You've got to be reliable. It is the number one thing that journalists, if you can earn their trust, you will be a reliable person, and they will really appreciate that. You've got to understand your audience. So know that if they like to receive an email or a phone call, do the journalists have children? What footy teams do they follow? You need to know this stuff, because then you can really understand the background to who you're talking to, and that will help build a relationship with them. For example, you've got to think like a journalist. So I went into Channel 9 News one day, and I actually did work experience there. This is when I was working in PR, so I could understand what it means to be on the other side. So when I was back at my desk with my PR hat on, I had that experience to know that when I was calling Channel 9 Newsroom, I would know, are they in a meeting at 9:05? Do they need all the stories by 3 p.m. of that day? So to understand that side of things. Also follow these journalists on Twitter. Don't only make contact with them when you want to pitch something. It's really important to build a relationship with them. So I still have contacts from my very early days who really started out as juniors, and now they're leading the different newsrooms. So I want you all today, just to even start, pick a journalist something that you've read and maybe you really like their style or just an interesting quote, email them, contact them on Twitter, contact them on Instagram, contact me and I'll help you get their details if you need. But it doesn't need to be a long email or a long note to them. Just start somewhere so that when they next see your name, they will know who you are. How does PR fall into the rest of the marketing mix? So they all should work together. So nothing should really be on its own. The social media team, if you've got that within, your business, this should be across what the PR team are speaking to the media about, or the advertising team should also be across how PR is speaking to the media to ensure you're all talking the same brand language and just tweaking it to suit the different audiences and the way they like to receive things. So for an example, when I did the PR for Melbourne International Flower and Garden Show, we worked across the show as a whole promoting the sponsors, but also it was the exhibitors. So the sponsors had their own PR team and we made sure that we talked to them so that they could get the most out of the activation and the sponsorship. Then we would work with the design team who were building out different social ads to make sure that if they were promoting it through socials, that it really had the same tone and voice that was seen then in traditional media and so on. There's no point people talking different languages because then the general consumers are going to get confused. How to start working with organic media. So some easy tips to start this journey. Often their email, so the journalist's email is in their bio. If you know the format of the organisation, it's often the same for everyone. What I mean by that is if you want to speak to someone at Channel 7, once you know the format, so if it's firstname.surname@7.com.au, then at 9 times out of 10, it will be the same. So just remember that and give it a go. Like I said, ensure you know how their day works. Put yourself in their shoes and understand this completely. It should be short, sharp, punchy emails. You can also use visuals as well to help tell a story. So if you've got an idea, maybe it's a couple of lines and then an image to help bring it to life. So the journalists are super busy, so just make it as easy for them as you can. Have all your ducks in a row. So before you start talking to the media and pitching something, make sure you have your images ready, you've got your media release, you've got a backgrounder, any information like that they might ask you, have it ready because you can't then come back to them. If they respond that day, you can't go back to them 2 weeks later because you'll miss deadlines and you've really got one shot at it. Have case studies and experts available to talk. Like I said, if you're a healthcare company, make sure you've got a doctor on standby ready to talk that's a third party. Or make sure you have a patient who is willing to talk about their experience because this is what the media want to help bring the story to life. So it's not just your brand getting talked about like an ad. Like I said, also, it doesn't need to be complicated. Sometimes simple is often better. For example, with the Arlo example. How to start working within media. So again, some more tips. I want you all to start reading the papers. I know it seems stupid, but and you think, oh, papers are dying off. Yet they are still critical to earned media. So it's really important that you really touch and feel the papers, especially the weekend papers are a great way. Maybe bring them all into your company on Monday and read them together. Or such searching online and look at different journalists and what they're talking about and build up examples is a good way. Maybe send a little kit out to the top 10 influencers that you journalists that you want to build a relationship with. And then just remember that they're getting hundreds of emails and also kits. But if you can make it a bit different and do your research, make sure you've got the correct address, make sure they aren't on leave, etc., then you're going to get cut through with them. It's something a bit different, and you don't all need to do this, but maybe choose a different journalist each week to reach out to and have a coffee with them. if you can say, I'll meet you at a coffee shop next to their office, it will be 30 minutes max, then the journalist will 9 times out of 10 say yes, because they know that you could be a really important source of information for them coming up with something. And if it's only going to take 30 minutes, then they're okay with that. Remember that every media is different. So they have different production times, like for clothing. Like clothing does with production times, so does media. So different mediums have different lead times. So maybe an online news story could be published within 5 minutes, but a national glossy magazine, they might be working 3 months in advance. So lead times are really important to remember as well. If you're wanting to be in country style, just remember that you better, you better almost start talking to them now for Christmas stories. I know that sounds crazy, but they're working at least 3 months in advance. Always remember as well that the journalists, they're not your friend. Of course, be friendly, but at any time, anything you say can be published. So remember that. Like I said, it's best to have everything in order before you start talking. So media is fast and it's a quick game that can happen at any moment, so be ready. The journalists are time poor, so make it as easy as you can. If you're sending them images, make sure in the image itself you've got it named correctly, etc. They don't have time to be looking for that, and sometimes if it's too hard, they just won't use it. If it's a brand that you have and you've got imagery of product, make sure that you have lifestyle imagery, but you've also got flat lay, which is your e-commerce type of imagery. If you don't have a product and it's, what other images can you use? Maybe if you're the founder, make sure you've got headshots of yourself. If you're going to be providing expert commentary, then they'll always ask, if they can't come and take a photo of you, then they'll ask you to send a photo. Product available for shoots is another good way of helping, ensure you get publicity. Your contact details, make it super easy for them to get in contact with you. So if you're emailing them, make sure your phone number is on there so that they can just pick up the phone. Otherwise, they'll just go to someone else. So is PR really worth it, or earned media? Public relations is one of the most cost-effective ways to build on marketing strategies and create a solid reputation. It's very believable, it's trusted, as opposed to advertising, where people know that if they know that the space has just been bought. PR is credible and that a journalist has chosen to write something. So public relations increases brand credibility. It's more effective than paid advertising, and it's 90% more trusted. It's free. It increases profits, sales, and leads. PR changes the way people think about a business. So this is really important. It very much, changes the way someone thinks. And if you can get into behavior change, that then is going to increase the advantage and the trust of your business. PR enhances online presence. So it's a long-term game. It also crisis mitigation and helps manage reputation. So hopefully lots of you won't need to worry about this, but if a crisis arises and if you can be on the front foot with PR, then you're going to ensure that your brand holds through that crisis better than anyone. Our PR isn't the only medium these days. So just remember that, as I said, the media landscape is becoming fewer and few, so it's important to look for other channels to get your message out there. Again, that's why with organic media, relationships are so important. Also remember trade press. It doesn't need to always be the Daily Mail or Channel 7 Sunrise. If you're more of a business-to-business brand, then trade press is who you want to be talking to. You want to be talking to other marketing managers, for example, that are reading advertising trade press so that they know about you. Or if you're in the sports world, maybe it's the sports trade press that you don't need everyone else to know about it. You just want people in the sports industry to know about what you're doing. If you approach a print journalist for a story, that doesn't mean that your story will always end up online too. They work in different teams. So that goes for the social team as well. So just remember that all different mediums have different people facilitating this content. Old school PR is where you just write a press release and send it out. It's very different now, and you should be really targeting who you're speaking to. So yes, you can have a press release and send this list, send it out to a whole bunch of lists with key information on one page, but then each pitch should be different. What I mean by that is once you've studied the journalist, you'll understand what's going to make their eyes light up when they see an email from you, which is one thing, but then they're going to have all the basic information that they need on one page as well sent to them. So other ways that you can get out there and just get out and start being involved in the earned media or organic media space. Listen to podcasts from different journalists or ex-journalists. Podcasts are great because they give such an insight into a brand or into a journalist's life. And again, you can really feel like you're getting to know them. Boardroom briefings. So what this is this is a really great little tip that not everyone knows about. So listen in if you're not already. A boardroom briefing is when you as a brand take your product into the publishing houses. So for example, into Our Media, which was formerly Bauer Media and also Pacific Magazines. They're all in the one publishing house now. So if you know someone in there, they can book a boardroom for you, maybe for an hour, and you bring your product in there and set it up how you like, and then email all the different journalists and say, hi, I'm actually in boardroom X for the next hour if you'd like to come and see our product. This is a great way because the journalist doesn't need to leave their desk or their office, and get to know about you, and then you start to build a relationship. I've done that a lot throughout my career, and it's really a good little tip to know. Also attend industry events. Obviously, there's not as many now, but make sure you're following different online events or where you can in person, and go and start listening to speakers. It's great doing things like you're tuning in to me, so hopefully you're getting something out of it. All of those things really do add up. Other ways that you might meet other PR people is if you're sponsoring an event. So this is where like I said, with the Flower and Garden Show example, there was different PR teams working across to get different messages out. So this is where you might come into contact with other PR people. If you're given product to talent, you might come across maybe a publicist for an actor. So you might work alongside them to help tell the story about the product. Or maybe it's a PR person from a TV network or a radio station. Again, all of these media organisations have their own PR team because they want to ensure that any of their talent or their stories are also in the media. So, for example, my friend works at News Corp in the PR team. Her job constantly is ensuring that those journalists are on TV, are on radio, are online, talking about the story that might have appeared that day or stories that are coming up, just to make sure that everyone is grabbing a copy of the Daily Telegraph to read, or the Herald Sun, just to create that buzz and that groundswell effect. Also with earned media, it's ensure that any PR features on your own socials as well. So yes, it might run in the Australian, which is great, and a whole lot of audience will see it, but don't forget to then put this on your own social channels. So maybe not Instagram or Facebook is the right way, but LinkedIn definitely is really important. Again, when we featured in the AFR last week, I put this on our LinkedIn, and it's created, it's almost had over 2,500 views, as you can see. It's had lots of different comments and shares and likes, which is pretty powerful. So don't forget that as well. With measurement, different forms of measuring PR or earned media, the share of voice. So have a look when something runs, you know, how many times throughout that article was your brand mentioned? PR is worth at least 3 times what advertising is. So if it was a full page of advertisement, then everyone knows that this was paid for. However, if it was a full page of editorial story, then this is much more important and valuable. The same if it was a 10-second story on 6 p.m. news. So what I mean by that is if you're in Vogue and you paid $50,000 for a full page ad is one thing. Then if the fashion editor does a big fashion story and does a story on, just say, for example, Carlotta and G, and features a image with us, you know, talking about our bedding and examples of us in the warehouse, all on one page, then that is going to be more credible than advertising. So often think about it, it's worth at least 3 times if it was an ad. Also then have a look if it was then shared on socials. So if so, how many eyeballs then saw this, how many likes, comments and shares, because this is all key data to just to show that from doing PR, which is free, it then resulted in this amount of people seeing or having exposure to your brand. So what's next after traditional media? As mentioned, that the media landscape is reducing. So it's so important that you also have your own voice as well. You can do this by growing your own socials and providing your audience content. So again, for example, with Carlotta and G, we use our own journal, which is on our website, to write larger form articles. So on experiences, such as the C&G Explores, or information that we wish to share, which is too long for socials. So remember that this form of your own content can also get picked up by media to use, and then they're credited to you, which is fantastic. So don't forget that as well. All right, I've talked a lot, so we might get into some questions. Now, I'm just reading through some of the different questions. If you had any questions, and I see Jay says, good morning, I'm ready to launch my digital business. Sure, that's fantastic. If you wanted to let me know, I can, if you want to get in touch, maybe we can have another chat to talk about this. I can see everyone says, hi, good morning. Hopefully the link did start working. Yeah, if anyone wants to ask me some questions after this. Oh, how does pitching a service differ from a product? That's a really, really good question, Marie. Thanks for that. A service is different. So maybe, for example, I've done some work with a landscape gardener. So that's obviously a service rather than a product. What we did in that scenario is we really made the landscape gardener, his name is Alex, an expert in the field. So we profiled him in Australia House and Garden, on Better Homes and Gardens, the TV show. We really made him an expert, and so using profiling to make sure that people are really, know who he is, so then they can look him up and use his services. So hopefully that helped you, but I'm happy to take that offline and you can give me a call and ask. I'm trying to get my shops open at Facebook and Instagram, but having trouble. That is a technical question. Again, you can email me and get my contact details after, and I'm happy to chat about that because that's different to organic reach, but that's more of a technical question. Alicia, thank you. Thank you for your presentation. That's great. I really appreciate it. If you've got any questions for me, definitely reach out after, get my contact details. A business to business service, e.g. editing, writing and teaching writing. Marie, for example, that's great, and thanks for doing that. For example, I feel like someone in, Channel 7 Sunrise might be interested in that, because the way you might do that, and again, if you've got your case studies, so teaching writing. So with that, it might be, you might have yourself as the expert in the field, but you also maybe have, little John who's 7 that you're teaching to write, and then John would become the focus and the focus of the Channel 7 Sunrise story, because it might be about his whole background, about why he couldn't write or why he needs to learn to write, and then the story becomes about him, but then you're giving the expert opinion as to how you helped that. So again, it might show a lot of footage of his whole life and the lead up, or footage of you teaching. But I'm happy to talk to you about that after. I can look over a pitch as well if you want, but I think you definitely have some legs. So get in touch with me and I'm happy to help you write your first pitch for that to a journalist and see how we go. I'm actually having an online clothing business, trying to get my first sales. Any advice? Again, happy to chat to you about that after. But like I said in the presentation, if you've got an online clothing business, make sure you have excellent imagery. I can't stress that enough, because and make sure your own social media and your website is going well, because if you were to approach a journalist and say, I'd love, my clothing to be featured in your latest fashion shoot, they are going to ask straight away, A, do you have product? B, do you have images that you can send me? Because I don't have time to do a photo shoot. I will just use one of your images. They'll also check out your website just to make sure you're credible. If they see that you don't have a website or your socials are not looking up to scratch, then they will just not go with you. But again, get in contact with me and I'm very happy to help you with that. Jay, how to pitch digital product and not physical product? Again, that is a good question, and I'm definitely happy to take that offline because there's a bit more background information and things like that that I'd probably need to know. But get my email address, get my phone number. I'm happy to pick up the phone and speak to you for 15 minutes and run you through examples with that one. Oh, great, Jenny. We have been featured in Country Style a few years back, but they approached us. Where can I start to approach other magazines? Let me know what kind of business you have and why Country Style featured you. But that's fantastic. You can't go past them approaching you, but now it's great. You can be proactive and start approaching them. Get in touch with me and I will give you some more information on that. And again, maybe we'll pick up the phone and go through some ideas. Do I need to stay back? No, don't stay back. Maybe just get my details. And yeah, exactly, Marie. If anyone wants to get in touch with me, it's probably best go via Carlotta and G Instagram. So that's at Carlotta and G. And then I'm happy to take questions from there and we can talk. Flower farm, and now adding my pottery to the business. Wow, a flower farm. Please get in touch with me because I want to know more. And when I worked on the Flower and Garden Show, if you have flowers or kids, you will be set in PR. So please get in touch. And that's really, really interesting. I'd love to hear more from you. What type of approach would you suggest for a personal life coach? Lynn, get in touch with me because, again, we'll pick up the phone and if I can have a bit more information. But, people, there's so many stories. And again, with personal life coach, you've got access to so many case studies. Again, it's a very touchy subject, so you'd have to make sure that your clients were happy for you to present them to the media, but definitely I know a lot of them would be happy. So again, you need case studies. So get in touch with me and I can run you through that on the phone. How good is it to do PR for B2B business? Yep, PR for B2B is really important. And that's a really good question because, yes, you're not going to be on Channel 7 Sunrise. They're not going to do that. But trade media is really powerful. And so, again, get in touch, and it depends what trade you're in. But if you're in that industry, you should know what trade media is because everyone in your industry will be reading that. And then it's just the same approach, getting in touch with the trade media. Data is really important. If you can give journalists data, then they will love you. Lynn, yes, I have case studies and you can only mention them in general terms. Okay, get in touch and we can work out some other ways as well. Oh, stop sharing. Oh, sorry. Sorry, guys. Thank you, Marie. I've stopped sharing my screen now. Yes, that was probably pretty hard to see all that. Guys, it sounds like such an exciting group that are who I'm talking to. So yeah, please do get in touch. Get in touch via Caledoon G or through the guys here. They'll give you my details because sometimes it just is a really simple idea and you might want to run an idea past me or past someone else and then that can really start. But like I said, it's a long-term game and don't be scared. Don't be scared. Just get involved and it doesn't always need to be big. Just start small steps. And as long as you're reliable and authentic, people will remember you. Let's see if we have any other. Janine, I'm really excited. Sorry, Jane, about the flower farm. So please do get in contact and the pottery business. That's very exciting. Let's see if I've. Jay, just quickly, I'm ready to launch my digital business. Digital is great. There's tech writers that would be interested in what you have to say. So get in touch with me and I can give you a bit more information. The coffee looks nice, Marie. Yes. Sorry, I know I'm just scrolling through now, but coffee, very good. All right. If anyone needs more information, can you mention your Instagram? Yes. So my Instagram is Carlotta and G. So CAR. I'll put it in here. All the guys here will give you my details as well. I'm happy for you to call me on my mobile or my email as well. Alicia, slightly different question here. Would love to get in touch to see if coming back to the PR world is still viable after leaving it for the past 10 years. Absolutely, Alicia. It will be harder because, different with PR, again, like I said, it's relationships, but it doesn't need to mean you need to be everywhere straight away. So I know that there'll still be some journalists still involved in the industry. So I think, get back into it. And also the PR world has changed so much now. So I think it's fine for you to get back into the space. But Alicia, get in contact with me. I'm happy to give you some other tips, or review your pitches if you want at the start and see how that goes. Yes, but if no one's got any other questions, just start getting involved, and it will happen. But yeah, I'm really excited for you all. Please get in touch and keep me updated because yeah, it's exciting. All right. If anyone wants me to chat about PR or organic media again, I am happy to come back and do another presentation or specialize more in something. So just get in touch with the guys if you want to hear anything else. All right, we might wrap it up there. And yes, thank you. I can just see that people are writing. I'll shoot you a message. Please do, if you need my details, please just get in touch. All right, thanks guys. Bye.